Hello and welcome to a very special episode of The Winning Post. I'm Mohit Lalvani, and on this episode, we head straight over to Hong Kong for what is possibly the most important horse racing conference in the world. A uniform racing policy that's amongst the discussions at the 35th Asian Racing Conference over in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is conclusively the global market standard when it comes to horse racing, and the opening of the 2014 Asian Racing Conference on Monday, the 4th of May, highlighted this fact. Over 700 delegates from all over the world flew into Hong Kong to participate in discussions that would determine policy innovations over the coming years. While the conference officially opened on the Monday, the delegates and international media were all seen at Sharton Racecourse for the Group 1 Champions Mile, one of the top mile races of the racing year. Among the leading contenders were the local favourites Abel Friend and California Memory. Abel Friend had run second in the Hong Kong Derby, after which he won the Group 1 Chairman's Trophy and had the services of Moreira in the saddle. The raiders included the world travellers Gordon Lord Byron, who had recently won the Group 1 George Ryder Stakes in Australia, and the champion miler from the powerful stable of Mike de Kock Variety Club, the winner of the Group 2 Godolphin Mile on World Cup night. Sitting up on the early pace, almost contesting the lead right from the start, Variety Club quickened away from the field and never looked to be in any kind of trouble. He won with a few lengths to spare. After the race, de Kock labelled this horse as the best miler he had brought to Hong Kong, and jockey Anton Marcus said that this victory was the highlight of his career. Very well done. He's just outstanding, isn't he? There's no other way to describe him.
No, he's a super horse and he wants to win. That's the most important thing, He's got a hell of a character. We're gonna just take everything in and we'll discuss it later.
Mr. Timothy Falk, President of the Sports Federation and Olympic Committee of Hong Kong, China, has just presented the Trophy of Champions Mile to the winning owner of Variety Club, Mr. Yusta. And now he's going to present the gold-plated dish to Mr. Yusta, the winning owner of Variety Club. Congratulations. Mr. Falk is now presenting the gold-plated dishes to the winning trainer, Mike de Kock. Congratulations. Mr. Falk has just presented the gold-plated dish to our jockey, Anton Marcus. Congratulations.
To the serious business of the plenary sessions, and the first on Tuesday was titled Racing's Lifeblood and the Future Landscape for Wagering. The panel, which was chaired by Winfried Engelbrecht Bregers, the CEO of the Hong Kong Jockey Club, included Jennifer Owens, an expert and market analyst, the PMU CEO Philippe Germond, Brian Corcoran, the CEO of Betfair, David Attenborough, the CEO of Tabcorp, and Paul Bitter, the BHA CEO. Racing as a whole is facing major challenges, and Jennifer Owens made a compelling case for connecting with the customer, something that the Hong Kong Jockey Club has done successfully over the years.
Firstly, the racing industry needs to look to its customer base and look to engage with younger customers more effectively through tools like social media, and also making racing a much more entertaining product, and educating the customer about racing.
Well, I think in Hong Kong, this horse racing is such a big part of the culture and so much of what people like to do with their free time. And there's no other sport in Hong Kong, not cricket, not football, not rugby, that even compare to horse racing. Horse racing is head and shoulders the most popular sporting entertainment in Hong Kong. And it's just remarkable that every single race meeting, we have big crowds, great excitement, and great interest. And I think that's what really makes Hong Kong so special. And now we've been able to elevate the quality of the racing and the quality of the experience. And we've seen tremendous growth, and it's great to see. And our horses now competing at a very high level here in Hong Kong as well as when they travel overseas. So it's just terrific to see the increase in the quality of the horses and the quality of Hong Kong racing over the last 5 years, and that we're trending in the right direction.
The research has shown me that racing's customer base is ageing, and compared to sports betting, for example, sports betting is growing share and is forecast to outpace racing in terms of total betting within the next decade. Sports betting engages with younger customers much more effectively. Racing needs to learn from that and to Tools like social media, Facebook pages, making racing events fun for young people, those sorts of things. Racing is a social activity and it's also information rich, and racing should be using technology much more effectively to engage with those younger customers.
Jennifer Owens' experience of 18 years as an analyst in the wagering business and message was echoed by Winfred Engelbrecht Bridges, who has been a driving force for the sport in Hong Kong, even as he looked ahead to the fact that amongst the most important elements of the sport was integrity.
I personally think it is very clear for racing that customer centricity is key. That we have to really understand the customer, that it's a holistic experience. We cannot look only at the racing side, we have to look at the wagering side. And that this is necessary in a way to collaborate differently than we have done in sport in the past with racing and wagering operators, with a better understanding of racing operators, what they need to do to have an attractive wagering project. The second takeaway is for me very clearly the integrity of the sport. That this is key, that we have to really ensure that our integrity of the sport, the medication issue, that we provide racing with a standard which I think is acceptable. I personally think we can reach an agreement in the International Horse Racing Federation to work on the issue of medication-free racing, especially in relation to anabolic steroids, that we look at a harmonization of laboratories in relation to capabilities, so that we can ensure that the best horses in the world run on a level playing field.
As far as Hong Kong racing goes, it's got an unparalleled position, dominant position. You are responsible, for making sure that happens and stays that way. What sets it apart?
I think for me, in a way, we have a different advantage of vertical integration, which helps us tremendously. But I think we have one thing that we are always looking for improvement, that we have the willingness to challenge ourselves and that we are never stand still. And that is what I think probably the drive of the whole organization, with one goal of really provide world-class entertaining, provide world-class services. And the passion the organization has for the sport and for serving the customer, that is maybe something which is in our DNA and helps us to improve and set us apart.
I think you said it all there, and looking forward to 2016 in India.
I look forward to 2016 in India. It will be a different form of conference, but this shows the variety we have in the Asian Racing Conference, and it's good because we cannot monopolize, we can only work together as partners, and we need different views, and it cannot be only a big nation, it has to be sometimes a view of somebody who lives in a more challenging environment.
The sessions on day one provided much food for thought and appetites for what was in store for the next day in Hong Kong. And clearly a multi-layered approach to your target audience is where it is. We'll take a short break, come right back with plenty more from Hong Kong. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to The Winning Post. You're joining me in Hong Kong, where we are covering the 35th Asian Racing Conference. Let's move right ahead. It might be fair to say that the world is divided between Samsung and Apple users. Battle lines have been drawn between the two companies, and for those who stand on that line, the first tangible experience comes with the packaging that Galaxies or iPhones provide. It stems from the belief that the growing demand for market dynamics isn't just about functionality of the product, but about emotive experience as well, an emotion that begins with the sense of sight. After all, wouldn't a consumer, unsure of what to buy, choose the better package, assuming a fair share of advantages for both? This was the message on Day 2 of the 35th Asian Racing Conference. Day 2 of the 35th Horse Racing Conference was clear in this message about the horse racing experience as well. The session, which highlighted the innovations that were happening in the viewing experience, discussed interactive and increasingly mobile platforms with second, if not multiple screens for viewers.
Actually, the Hong Kong Jockey Club is very keen to encourage viewers to participate in horse racing. Our social engagement would be actually very much focusing on getting more function into our second screen so that the second screen can complement the primary TV screens. For example, like more POV shots being provided to the second screen, And as what I said, to liberate the viewers by providing them with more choices and let them have the power to choose whatever horses they want to watch, which part of the races that they want to replay. This is really important to liberating the power of choice. In the near future, we are going to try out the 360-degree camera and then provide the footage on the iPad so that the viewers can choose which horse that they want to watch by actually moving the iPad or sweep through the iPad. It's actually, again, liberating their choices and give them the power to do whatever they want with the footage.
Day 2 also had a presentation on the Indian breeding industry, which was chaired by Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla.
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great honor for me to be appointed the chairman of the breeding session, and I sincerely thank the organizers of the 35th Asian Racing Conference held here at Hong Kong. Before I proceed further, may I take the liberty of expressing my appreciation that the conference here, organized by the organizers of the Hong Kong Jockey Club, and I've been here attending more than I don't know how many conferences for the last 35 years, I think they need to be congratulated as having made the best effort so far and unmatched in any other conference I've attended over so many years. The thoroughbred breeding industry has been in my DNA right from the beginning and is not only a passion for me but a love of my life. Having said that, we now come to the most interesting part of the information that I've gathered, and that is the ARF countries have now grown in stature and the volumes of breeding, and more than 1/3 of all thoroughbreds bred in the world come within the span of the ARF member countries. The major countries, of course, as you well know, are Australia, New Zealand, Japan and South Africa. However, to give an equal opportunity, this session today confines itself for showcasing the history and the activities of the other breeding countries within the ARF membership, that is India, Turkey and Philippines. So, before I now call upon Mark Richards to introduce the first speaker, I must take this opportunity of welcoming all the delegates today of the 35th Asian Racing Conference to try their best and come to the 36th Racing Conference to be held in India, where the breeding activities which Mr. Satish Iyer will be showcasing can be actually seen for themselves when they visit in Indian shores.
Indian breeding has come a long way, and as Satish Iyer explained, the process of excellence is an ongoing one. Satish, let's start by talking about the experience that you're having here in Hong Kong.
Well, Hong Kong has always been something which I look forward to, and I'm truly amazed with the way things have been here as compared to the earlier conferences. It's indeed a place to be in. I mean, I look forward to coming here again and again.
Now, you were a speaker at the breeding session. What are some of the innovations that the breeding industry in India is experiencing right now? And on the same note, what are some of the challenges?
Well, we have very recently introduced our online system of filing returns. That's something which is going to be taking us a long way, because we're going to be doing away with paper gradually. With the exception of, say, sale transfer deeds, we may not have anything in paper. And the other aspect is we have now gone on to giving people information more easily. I mean, one could easily log on and get information which was only available when we had published the books. And that I think a lot of people have already said that, yes, we are in the right direction.
What are some of the challenges that Indian breeding is facing?
The population is certainly looking downwards. I guess that is also because of the demand and supply ratio. But that's always been a trend. If you have had a look in the last 25 years, there's always been a graph which is dipping and going up again. So I guess this is just one of those years when the population is slightly down. It might catch up the next few years.
And when one considers that horse racing in India is possibly as old as anywhere in the world, it's important for us to understand the impact that the Indian stud book has had, not just in India, but globally as well as a standard. We'll take a short break and come right back, end up in Hong Kong yet again, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Winning Post, back in Hong Kong. It's time for our last day of plenary sessions. Strong message on day 3, all about integrity. The final day of the Asian Racing Conference ended with one very important message. This was that integrity in the sport was of paramount importance to ensure that the racing world would continue to thrive. The speakers for the second plenary session on the final day included Mark Warby, a Queen's Counsel who is the legal advisor to the British Horse Racing Authority, Justice Mukul Mudgal, who headed the IPL match-fixing probe, Dale Brown from Racing Victoria, Patrick Jay from the Hong Kong Jockey Club, and the investigative journalist from Australia, Nick McKinsey. It's a well-known fact that, like with any marketplace, horse racing betting markets are often open to manipulation. Over the years, race fixing, doping and illegal bookmakers have hurt the industry like nothing else. Justice Mukul Mudgal was in agreement with this, and in his presentation he touched upon the National Sports Development Bill, which is awaiting parliamentary approval in India. The Winning Post team caught up with the famous legal luminary. As far as the broader concept of this bill goes, is it only for cricket, or how does horse racing benefit from it?
Well, the bill is general for all sports. So therefore, horse racing today, which is governed by the racing club rules and ruled by stewards, will now come under the ambit of this act.
And the educating of the police officers and the registering bodies and the judicial system itself, who right now stayed away from horse racing, the spotlight clearly isn't on horse racing. How do they get educated?
Well, I think the solution is in the sports appellate body, where the Chief Justice of India would be expected to nominate a judge who knows sports.
So we can expect some kind of judicial intervention in the way the clubs are being run?
Yes, it covers election disputes. It will cover this, today most sporting bodies in India are embroiled in litigation which is pending in courts for years. The Sporting Appellate Tribunal, if constituted, would go a long way in resolving it quickly. Because what's the point of, if the term of a person is run out and election is challenged, then there's no point in persisting with the dispute.
The underlying message was clear, that no matter what offenders come up with next, the authorities are not far behind and will do what it takes to maintain integrity in the sport. The closing ceremony in the evening was in the parade ring at Charlton Racecourse, and as the Asian Racing Conference moves to Mumbai, India in 2016, the handover ceremony aptly punctuated an evening that brought together cultural events that were a mix of Hong Kong and India. The Hong Kong Jockey Club and the team led by Andrew Harding ensured that this particular Asian Racing Conference was rated as one of the best ever and will certainly set higher benchmarks in years to come.
The 35th Asian Racing Conference has been everything that I might have hoped for it. It's been so well attended from so many countries, more than 40 countries, more than 800 delegates, and the discussions have been exactly what we need to be talking about.
And coming into this, when you're putting something together of this magnitude, what are some of the trials and tribulations that you need to go through? I mean, what are some of the hoops that you need to jump through?
Look, it's a massive exercise because the conference incorporates a social program. There are high expectations of that. The tours program for the accompanying persons, and then the business program. And then you add on to that all of the logistical exercises, the transport, the hotels, the registration process. I mean, this is a conference on a large scale. It started in 1960 with 69 delegates. This conference has more than 800, so it's a substantial undertaking.
And finally, looking ahead to 2016, what are some of the things that you'd like to see? What are some of the messages you're taking from here to there?
Well, I think what I'm particularly excited about so far as the conference in India in 2016 is this, that this conference has unearthed a great number of very important issues, but they need to be progressed. And so I'm excited that it's not that far away, January 2016, and in the time intervening, we can make the progress we need to, and then when we come together again, I'd be very hopeful that we've seen significant advances across a wide range of fronts, both regulatory and commercial.
That's interesting you say that. What happens from now to then? Is there anything that happens in order to see some of the discussions that have happened land up, actually being executed?
There are. I suppose what takes place at the conference in terms of its business program falls into two categories. There are those matters that are educational, they share ideas, and the delegates take them back individually, and to the extent that they're applicable domestically, they do that. The other category are those ideas which are, I suppose, the big ideas, the industry-changing things, and they're the things that the Secretariat of the Asian Racing Federation has the responsible for carrying forward between conferences.
The chairman of the Indian Race Clubs was certainly mindful of this. The take-home messages seemed to address a number of different issues that needed to be addressed. Vivek, we've spent a few days here now. Apart from the evenings, which have been very enjoyable, what are your impressions on this?
Well, it's a fabulous conference. I've been to only one earlier, which was in Turkey, which had a more exotic theme and a location. But I think Hong Kong is unmatched in terms of the infrastructure, the technology, the facilities. And it's a tough act to follow 2 years from now.
Well, the one thing that's emerged over the last 2 days is that we need to keep innovating. The sport needs to keep innovating because there's a lot of competition out there. Now, you are one person who believes in that. What are your thoughts after the last 2 days and the sessions you've sat through?
One thing that came loud and clear above everything else was the need for uniform medication rules. I think one of the speakers said today that you can keep trying to market the sport, but unless you have strong medication rules in place, strong testing procedures, strong policies, and the horses run drug-free, that is what is really going to be important for the sport. So that was my first take-home. And second is on the technology that is being used, especially Hong Kong gave a brilliant example of the 360 degrees vision, the viewing experience, the need for racing to be telecast and the quality of the telecast to improve the viewing experience. My only concern is the costs. All of them, I'm sure, are going to be expensive. None of the racing clubs in India, I think, have that. But it would be a few years away, but we have to start moving in that direction.
What if the turf clubs in India got together and created a central pool towards packaging the product better? Do you think that's something that could work?
It's a long way off because each club has its own distinct racing, its own racing days, the infrastructure varies. So it's something that we need to talk at the next meeting, but I think it'll have to be implemented individually by each of the clubs.
And looking ahead to 2016, obviously that's something we're going to look at promoting right from now because before we know it, it'll be around the corner. There are many lessons to take home from here.
Well, it's mixed feelings because Hong Kong has been truly outstanding. My biggest concern is the infrastructure for the venues because to host 600-700 delegates at one common location is going to be a challenge. On the other hand, we have the beautiful infrastructure we have at the racecourse. So both the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony, maybe even one of the sessions can be held there. But I think we will make up for the lack of infrastructure by the sheer enormity of India, the social events, the academies after, the accompanying persons program, the keynote speakers, the opening and closing ceremony. I am sure we'll do a very, very good job with that, which may compensate for the facilities of Hong Kong.
And how have you been enjoying Hong Kong?
Well, it's been great fun. I really enjoyed it. I went to the one in Turkey, and Turkey was a different experience by the Bosphorus, but I think it's a great city to be in, and I'm delighted that I actually came here.
Hong Kong is a lovely place, no doubt. It's a beautiful place to visit, whether it is for a conference or for tourism purposes or for a holiday. I've been here a couple of times, but Hong Kong has changed over the years and it has vastly improved. As far as the Asian Racing Conference is concerned, I must congratulate the Jockey Club of Hong Kong for having put up a very nice show, hospitality, excellent hospitality, all credit to them. I think we have to, the main issue is what I think we should adapt for Indian conditions is much better racing. Even if we can achieve 15 to 20% of what they have reached today, I think it will be a giant leap for racing in India.
Well, it's been a tremendous 5 days here in Hong Kong, and one can understand, having witnessed it firsthand, as to why Hong Kong is at the top of the pyramid in the world of horse racing. Well, that's all we have on this episode of The Winning Post. Thank you for joining me. As always, you can catch this episode on www.youtube.com/winningpostracing. Until I see you in a week's time, thank you for joining me. May the horse be with you.